Our final storyteller, Elizabeth Januzzi, is the program director at Project Write Now, a nonprofit organization which provides writing workshops for aspiring writers of all ages. Elizabeth's debut memoir will be published in July 2026. Elizabeth is sharing her story, Click, A Mother's Worry.
In July 2023, my oldest son, Michael, who at the time was a junior at the University of Vermont, planned to drive home during what is now known as the Great Vermont Flood. I was desperate to keep him off the road, but he was being stubborn. Hoping to get a weather report from a local parent, I posted on the college's Facebook parent page. Now, if you've ever visited a college's Facebook parent page, you know that it can be equal parts helpful resource and anxiety spiral. Scrolling through is like viewing a slideshow of parental fear through one of those Viewmaster toys we had as kids. She's always in the library. Does she have any friends? Click. He joined a fraternity. Is he drinking too much? Click. She says the cafeteria is terrible. What will she eat? Click. He says he's fine, but what does that really mean? After I posted asking for a weather report, a woman from my hometown recognized my name and messaged me saying her daughter was headed to UVM in September. I have a lot of anxiety about my only child going to college 6 hours away, she said. I hear ya, I DM'd back. The worry is relentless. Oh, she replied. I was hoping to hear you say it gets easier once they go to school, and the anticipation is the worst part. I didn't have the heart to tell her that the worry never stops. Let me pause here to say I'm not talking about clinical anxiety. That's a different beast, one treated with psychotherapy and/or medication. I'm talking about your standard everyday worry that makes your mind buzz, your hands clench, and just sucks the joy out of your life. Last year, my middle son, Ray, went to a concert in North Jersey for his birthday. For some reason, this rather simple adventure caused me a lot of anxiety. Would he be okay in a strange city? Would his friends have a good time? Would they meet up with the Uber? All night long, I was a twitchy mess, my phone plastered to my side. The next morning, Ray barreled into the kitchen. Concert was great, friends had a great time, Uber was fine, bye. That worry was over, and I swear to you, I could feel my brain click over to the next concern, as if I had my own personal Viewmaster slide reel of fear. Click, on to the next kid and the next worry. My children are older now, 22, 20, and 18. They're almost fully formed humans, almost out of the nest. Can I be done with parenting now? Can I be done with the worry? I know. Older parents out there listening to this are shaking their heads right now, saying, you're never done parenting. If you're not worrying about your kids, you're worrying about your grandkids. I don't want to be like this, I whined to my friend Kelly on one of our walks. My goal is to be like a river, flowing down the stream of life, effortlessly cruising over life's obstacles. Kelly scoffed. Some worry is good, she said. Yes, it's true, life favors the prepared. I understand the importance of being prepared to prevent bad things from happening. Giving your teen driver a AAA card and one of those little hammers that breaks the window in case they ever drive off a bridge and plummet into the water below. Preparedness is fine, but stress staring at the Find My iPhone dot, telepathically forcing it safely over the Tappan Zee Bridge is not. And realistically, if they are sinking into the Hudson, would they even remember that that little hammer is in the car's side pocket? I should tell you that I'm relatively new to parental worry. When my kids were younger, from the baby stage to, say, middle school, I didn't care about the things that seemed to stress other parents. I didn't fret over breast milk versus formula. I never agonized about red dye or feared that my child was going to get kidnapped riding his bike around the block. I'm not saying that I shouldn't have been concerned, I just wasn't. But the young adult stage is very different for me because I have direct evidence that this stage can be very dangerous. I had a magical childhood, a loving family, summers spent at the beach, epic games of neighborhood manhunt. However, at some point around middle school, terrible things started happening to my family. When I was 9 years old, my 21-year-old cousin was murdered while at college. Then my older sister Julia became critically ill and was hospitalized for months. Soon after, my older brother William was sent to rehab for his alcoholism. He died when he was 21 in a drunk driving accident, and then my older sister died by suicide when she was 29. My stomach is in knots was something my mother often said during these troubled times. But what good did her constant stress do? Did it save her children? No. But here I am, decades later, with the same knots in my own stomach. Look, I know my family's story is an outlier. The last thing I want is for you to leave here stressed out. Your kids are going to be fine. My kids are probably going to be fine. But knowing that intellectually doesn't stop the worry. And if worrying doesn't keep anyone safe, how do I stop doing it? Maybe I get something out of the worry. Maybe worrying is the closest thing I have to a magic spell, as if my anxious vigilance is somehow keeping bad things at bay. For this piece, I Googled how to get rid of worry. One suggestion, write your fears down. So maybe that's what I'm doing here, writing it down, telling you all, releasing it. By the way, back to the Great Vermont Flood, I begged and pleaded enough to convince my son Michael to delay his trip home by a day. After the storm passed, he drove home safely. Click, on to the next worry.